Hello. So, Nina, you are a director of growth at BNB. And I think that's super interesting because I was director of growth in my previous job as well. But I think it might be, it must be so much different because BNB is it's not a company, it's a chain, it's an ecosystem. There's developers, there's app builders, there's users, there's so many counterparties. For me, while I was a director at capital.com, it's very easy. My goal was to increase revenue and increase new users, and I had my channels that I could do growth on. But for you, I assume it's like a little bit more complicated of a mandate. Can you tell me a little bit more about what your job is and how you achieve it? Because I think it's a super interesting thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you really nailed it down pretty well. Growth lead in a blockchain is really a orchestrator, right? We have the VCs on one side, we have the builders, we have the community retail users, and we also have the institutions now. So really, as a growth lead, my job is to orchestrate all these parties so that they can all be successful in their own standard through working together in this platform that we present to the general public. So that's essentially the core of what a growth lead is for a blockchain ecosystem.
Yeah, and like if you like when I was working in growth, like when I logged in every morning, there was like two or three dashboards I looked at every single morning, and on those dashboards I would look at, okay, for example, how many new users, new deposits come in, what was the trade volume of the previous day, what is like every month I would check the month-on-month retention rate, how the new cohorts are being retained, etc., etc. Are you looking at similar numbers, or are you looking more at like partnerships, at like how different people in the ecosystem are working? Like, what is the first thing you do in the morning, basically?
First in the mornings, I usually start with injecting myself with informations because I don't want to throw myself into the million conversations that I'm in. So one thing that a growth lead has to do really well is actually to coordinate all these conversations. So by nature, I'm in the million conversations, but I want to use the first hour or so of my time to actually not look at numbers, not look at growth, not look at chats or emails, but to really keep myself updated with what's happening in the industry, what's happening in the regulatory spaces. And with the help of AI, this job is a lot easier nowadays. But I start my day with injecting myself with informations, and then we do look at metrics like trading volume. We do look at daily active users, but first, we don't check that every day. We check probably once a week, and we probably take into account of these numbers, reflecting on our action in a slightly longer time frame because crypto market is very volatile, and
Yes.
there are also a lot of short-term numbers, short-term hypes that we don't necessarily need to chase every time. So
Yes.
that's, I guess, one thing that we mentally prepared ourselves to have a smooth curve instead of a sharp up and down.
Yeah, no, that's one of the tricky things about working with a product where there's inherently a lot of speculation is that one day something happens in the markets and then like there's a ton of new people come in, and then the next day, like the next month, you don't have that same thing happen, and then the number doesn't look as good, and then you're always caught kind of thinking like, am I doing a good job or is the market volatile this month?
Exactly.
Cool. All right. So one of the big narratives and the big stories going on right now is that despite the huge, there's crypto sentiment in many ways is not good right now. There's a lot of negative feeling, but still there's a lot of points where we're at all-time highs, and stablecoin usage and stablecoins as an industry in general are at all-time highs. Now, BNB chain is a huge part of this. There's roughly 40% of all stablecoin transactions happen on BNB chain, and yet by value, it seems to be like a slightly smaller percentage, or a significantly smaller percentage actually. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you're seeing in stablecoins and who the users of stablecoins on BNB chain are?
I think there are a lot of micro payment transaction that's happening on BNB chain. Obviously, there are whales that's doing a lot of the lending collateralization with stablecoin. But I actually really like the fact that we own most of the transactions. regardless of the value itself. It means that our audiences are not necessarily the all occupied by institutions, but a lot of micropayments and retail users that's probably send transactions that the normies, what we call the normies, are doing. So it's definitely it ties very very much back to the nature of the BNB chain community. Right? It's a very Asian-based, very grassrooted group of people. And that's where we came from. We're a blockchain that has been around for over 6 years. We don't deny where we came from, right? Obviously, we want to work with the institutions, but we don't want to abandon the people that has been supported us for the past 5-6 years as well.
So you would say it's like heavily, as of right now, heavily an Asian retail-focused chain. Is that a fair assessment?
I think that's pretty fair. Our user base is definitely a lot of them come from Asia. We do see more and more, European Americans are starting to use BNB chain. But I would say in Asia is still where the strongest sentiment and communities are.
And what is opportunity in terms of institutions, right? Because what we've seen is that with the sort of change in regulation in the US, we've seen a lot of institutions come on board, a lot of demand for stablecoins, both on the institutional side, but also on some of the smash hit stablecoin products, like, for example, prediction markets. Where do you think BNB Chain can fit into this ecosystem?
BNB Chain actually has the largest on-chain prediction market trading volume. I think at some point we have like weekly volume of 1.2 billion. Don't quote the number on me, but I think that's at some point that was the number. So yeah, we're actually really strong in terms of prediction market. We have several stablecoin markets ongoing on that's building on BNB Chain, naming the Predict.Fun, Opinion, also several others that I wouldn't name off them. But essentially, we really think prediction market is a fun, innovative product in this sector. In terms of institutions, I think with, as you mentioned, with the regulatory space became more and more clear, it's very important for a blockchain to not just present a blockchain infra. Similar to I always like to compare a blockchain to AWS, Google Cloud, right? So at some point, cloud and the server itself is not where they compete on anymore, right? Obviously, the speed matters, the UX matters, but what matters more is that who has the better support for AI, right? Who has the better support for certain use cases, and then they have to dive into a specific use case and provide the best UX for users and audiences that's working on that specific use case. And same for institutions. All the institutions today want to be experimenting with crypto. And as a blockchain, we have to provide a holistic package to present to them and say, here's as an institution what you can do on blockchain, and BNB Chain can offer you not only a blockchain infrastructure, but we can also help with getting through your compliance, providing permission solutions, helping you with privacy. So essentially, BNB Chain, our roadmap is to provide a holistic institution product package with blockchain infrastructure as the underlying technology to bring their assets on chain.
Got it. And do you spend a lot of time talking to institutions, or do you spend a lot of time talking to users? You spend more of your time talking to startups? Like, how does this mix look like? Like, what are the ambitions here?
So we have a diverse range of team members that's growing in different sectors. I spend more time talking to AI developers, talking to indie developers. We do have colleagues that's focused more on the institutional side in Europe and the US. We also have colleagues dedicated to talk to institutions in APAC. So those are obviously very different audiences, but we care about growth in all of them, see growth in all the sectors. But personally, I spend more of my time talking to indie developers and community members.
I love that you mentioned AI. Okay, I want to know exactly what's going on with AI on BNB Chain, because I mean there's so many exciting potential things, right? One of them is, so obviously AI agents will need to transact in some way, right? And having a fast performance, high throughput blockchain with stablecoins on it is potentially a very good option. But I think the other thing that is super interesting, I think many people don't know, is like most merchant stablecoin transactions originate from places like Binance, and presumably a good chunk of that goes through BNB chain. So I'm very, very curious to hear what you're seeing on the ground, what cool experiments you're spotting in the AI world.
With AI and BNB chain, there are a lot of things that we are working on. AI obviously is a very fast changing space as well. I think open cloud really came in and swooped everybody off of our feet over the past month or so. So BNB chain actually announced several things on the AI side. First, we announced something called BAP 578, essentially that allows you to mint your agent as an NFT. Second, we also supported 8004, and that's a registry for AI agents. So AI agents can register, and then they will have a reputation around it. Then you will know which AI agent has performed better, which AI agent has malicious code in it. So that's the two things. We also have launched our own skills, and we'll be continuing improving this BSC skills. Usually that allows your open cloud agent to, through downloading the skill, tap into the vast DeFi opportunities on BNB chain. And we're also coordinating with essentially all the ecosystem partners launch their own skills, right? So for example, Pancake will have own skill, Venus will have their own skills, maybe Opinions will have their own skills as well. And through there, agents can seamlessly interact with the ecosystem players on BNB chain. So we are playing the role of lowering the agent entry barrier as much as possible, similar to how we want to lower the entry barrier for users. Now we're doing this for the agent, right? We want to make sure the wallet's there, want to make sure the data is there, want to make sure they can install all the skills in one command instead of going through millions of documents by themselves, then maybe they misunderstood something. So yeah, so that's essentially what we're doing as a base infrastructure. On top of that, also have run 2 vibe coding hackathons. We have a brand called Good Vibes Only. And we plan to continue run this, and we will even open this hackathon brand to allow students, for example, in the US or in other places in the world, to run their own Good Vibe Only hackathon with our sponsorship. I think vibe coding is for everybody, and it's a great way to bring innovative builders into the ecosystem. So we will continue to support this initiative and continue bring interesting use cases of AI to in front of the BNB chain audiences.
I mean, these skills are just so useful. Just today I was checking, I was writing a story about some people who seem to have a lot of luck on Polymarket, in trading. And before I would have to go on the Blockchain Explorer or Dune and try to verify. Now I just go, okay, command line interface. Hey, can you please check these markets to see if there's actually, you can verify this data. And it's so quick and it's so fast. It goes, yes, and I found all of these other examples. So, it's just such an opening to be able to do all of these things. Have you seen an increase in activity from agents, from people using agents? Is this something that you can spot in the blockchain data?
So as of now, it's very difficult to us to have a holistic picture of which transaction is done by agents. Hopefully with the maturing of more wallets have their own MCPs, and we can actually know which wallets are created for the usage of agents, then we can probably have a more consolidated data of what percentage of transactions are done by agents. So that's that. But we do have about 6,000 agents that's registered on BNB chain already. So definitely seeing the growth of agents in the ecosystem.
And what are the most popular ones? Are they mostly trading ones?
There are a lot of trading ones, a lot of data analysis. Some of them are out there, for fun as well, right? Like they generate videos, they talk to each other. So there are vast variety of agents.
They generate videos?
Yeah, there are agents that out there that's generating BNB chain specific videos to entertain the communities. There's utilitarian agents, also interconvenience agents. And we also see a lot of agent infra projects, right? Like the ones that allowing agents to purchase credits of LLMs with stable coins on BNB chain. So so that's also very interesting. So that will essentially allow agents to maybe for example, through prediction market, they would make some money and then they would use that money to buy credits for themselves, to buy cloud space for themselves, to become a self-sustaining agent.
That's super interesting. And I guess, well, in that case, agents can make money and they can get paid in, USDC or USDT or whatever stablecoin on BNB and basically live their entire life there and continue to live on. I mean, that's, crazy stuff. It sounds like we're very much living in the future right now.
It sounds like we're living in the future. I think it's, I like the concept of it. I think it's a very hot narrative right now. I don't think this is something that's particularly beneficial for the human beings, because if an agent just out there doing their own things and has pretty much no relation to what we're doing. So I think for the mid to long term, I would still like to see more use cases that's generating real benefit for how we as humans can live better in the crypto world or even in a physical world.
Yeah. Talking about real humans, like one of the hard things that I had when running, being a growth director was sometimes separating the signal from the noise, right? And with crypto, you sometimes get so much noise and so much agent activity or bot activity, and it's very, very hard to know what of the activity is legitimate versus what is the activity that is not legitimate. So when you guys are looking at things like, transaction growth year on year or daily active users, do you have to correct it for, let's say, some sort of metrics to see, how much of this is like, I don't know, agentic versus how much of it is it real humans, et cetera, et cetera? How do you deal with the fact that BNB chain is basically a super open ecosystem where anyone can do whatever they want? So with all of these agents and all of these bots interacting with each other on the blockchain, on one hand, it's a super powerful thing because it's an open ecosystem that anyone can do anything in. On the other hand, it's tough because it makes all of the numbers and all of the metrics so noisy. So when you're looking at things like monthly active users or transaction count and looking at year-on-year growth, how do you manage to distill the signal from the noise? Do you correct it? Do you have like a data scientist team? Like, what is it that you guys do to understand what are the true numbers behind things? And how do you understand what the important metrics are given all of the bots and everything going on chain?
So I think the North Star for all blockchain ecosystem is the revenue generated by the chain. Essentially, any bots or agents, they still perform an activity because whoever built the bot or agent think there are profit behind performing those actions. At the end of the day, nobody is here to voluntarily spend gas on transactions. The most realistic indicator is still revenue generated. And the secondary matrix is how much revenue is generated by the ecosystem projects, right? How much is Pancake generating? How much is Lista generating? Major protocols on the ecosystem, how much are they revenuing? So that's also a very realistic matrix. So that those usually you cannot.
Got it. Okay. So let's move on a little bit to RWA. So real world assets. I recently spoke to a founder who is working with tokenized gold. And, given your strong influence with retail consumers, what are you guys thinking of in terms of real world assets? What are you seeking out? What are you offering right now? What's the RWA story on BNB chain?
We have a very open approach to RWAs. Reason being, the whole RWA space is still very early on, right? And it's still evolving. So there are assets that's more attractive than the other, right? So gold is actually one of the more attractive assets. there are also less attractive assets, right? For example, treasury bill. For most crypto investors, it's not that appealing because the yield's relatively low for crypto investors. However, I think there's still certain benefit of tapping into those assets because the regulatory landscape will not get to maturity in one go. And through that process, it's actually a very great learning process for us, for the regulator, for everybody involved. So we're here to grow with the industry. We're here to grow with all the other issuers, builders, retails in crypto space. So we are actually very liberal in terms of the type of asset we support, but we do prioritize the one that has potential to be traded on chain, because most of the crypto investors are here to make a profit through trading or holding certain assets. So that's essentially the type of asset we see that have a strong product market fit.
Got it. When I speak to founders or people working in crypto here in the US, everyone tells me everything is coming on chain. We're going to get stocks on chain, bonds on chain, commodities on chain. Everything will be on chain sooner or later. Is that also the sentiment that you see in Asia with regards to founders? Does everyone agree on this?
I think so. I think in general that's the bright future of crypto, right? Everything's coming on chain. However, stepping back to look at the reality today, if we do bring all the bonds and stocks and heavy metals, everything on chain, the crypto market is not big enough to receive all this on chain asset, right? Crypto market today is still very small compared to TradFi industry. So if we bring all this on chain, then essentially crypto is not ready for it yet. So it's a small step at a time. But I do agree in the long term, there's a bright future that everything could be on chain. And that's why you and I are here, right? That's why we're building for the past years in the crypto industry.
One of the things that I wonder about is if we end up with a world where everything is effectively on chain, including real world assets, everything, etc., then, at some point we're going to have to solve the problem with privacy. I don't necessarily want everyone in the world to know what is in my retirement portfolio. Earlier in our conversation, you mentioned that privacy is also something that you discuss about with some of your stakeholders. Tell me a little bit about where you think this is going to evolve in the whole RWA/payments world on chain. Are we going to see increasingly more private blockchains? What is the future here?
I think there's definitely a use case for private blockchains, as it gives a lot of customability to the issuer in TradFi institutions. There is also a benefit to public chain, and the privacy piece, it can be achieved through certain middleware or privacy integrated built in on the chain level as well. Doesn't necessarily have to be a private permission blockchain. For example, in a BNB chain ecosystem, we collaborate together to build a pretty strong privacy product called, two products are called 0xBO and Brevis. So they essentially co-launch a project to do private transactions on BNB chain. So that's something that can be served as institutions. I'll be quite frank, the good thing about public chain is that there is a very big retail, and it allows things to grow spontaneously. How do I put this? Institution is one piece of Lego in the crypto DeFi ecosystem. And there are other pieces of Lego that not necessarily come from institution directly. It could come from an indie developer. It could be a AI applications, right? To put a real world asset on the general blockchain, you are welcoming yourself into the unlimited possibilities in the crypto world in the next 10, 20 years. With the permission blockchain, you essentially take a more conservative step to watch and see what others are doing, and then you do something similar. There's no right or wrong. It's really how comfortable the issuer feels what they want to do with their product. However, the drawback of a public blockchain is that the blockchain itself has to do a very good orchestration work, right? They have to orchestrate the privacy provider, the compliance provider, the custody providers, the auditing providers to the issuer so that they have a holistic solution. Because blockchain itself, it was a product, it was enough for everybody, maybe in the first 3 years of blockchain launching. But the industry has matured to a point where in terms of product, people expect more, institutions expect more, institutions expect a holistic solution. So that's where the blockchain have to come in and think about how to put together a holistic product for institution to adopt, even though it's not entirely a private blockchain, but it's something that's so holistic and well-rounded that institution can just plug and play into productizations.
One of the things that I'm thinking about while we have this conversation is that even though blockchains are global, right, and anyone in the world can go do something on BNB chain and anyone in the world can go do something on Ethereum or Solana or whatever, I still feel like there seems to be a bit of a cultural, gap a little bit between BNB chain and Ethereum and Solana. It seems to be like some quite different communities, and often I get the impression that some parts of the ecosystem don't even know that there's things going on at a huge scale on other parts of the ecosystem. So what are some of the biggest misconceptions that you have to deal with when it comes to BNB chain? What is something about BNB chain that a lot of people get wrong?
I think one thing that's definitely underrated for BNB chain is that people don't think BNB chain tech is strong. And this is absolutely wrong, because actually BNB chain is one of the most battle tested blockchain in the ecosystem. And we are also one of the fastest EVM blockchain here. In the past 5 years, the BNB chain tech team has essentially done 20-something hard forks to improve the blockchain performance. We have reduced the latency by X, right? And right now our block time is at 0.45 millisecond.
Mm-hmm.
People don't understand that it takes a lot of research and engineering effort to improve chain's performance consistently for the past 5-6 years. So that's one thing that I definitely want to improve.
Yeah, I think maybe people still have those 2021 memories of going on Pancake Swap, and then you do the transaction 7 times, it doesn't go through, but those times are over. Nina, is there anything else that we haven't touched upon in this conversation that you want to highlight? We spoke about AI, we've spoken about stablecoins, about RWA. Anything else that we're missing that you want to emphasize?
Is it okay I do a shout out on our upcoming US roadshow?
Let's do it. Tell me all about it.
Yeah, so BNB is actually going through a significant effort to reach more of our in the European communities. So this year in March, around the Digital Asset Summit, we're actually going to be doing a roadshow in the United States. We're going to be at the summit itself, and then we're going to be visiting several universities in the US, meeting the developers and builders in the East Coast, and then we're going to do it all the way to the West Coast to meet students there. So so if you are around in the US, please come and meet us and keep an eye out on our upcoming events.
When are you guys going to be on the West Coast?
It could be before Digital Asset Summit. We could be somewhere sometime in April. Are you coming?
All right.
To New York?
I'm not entirely sure. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. But if I am, I'll definitely go over and say hi.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, Nina, thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.